Pachycephalosaurus, meaning thick-headed lizard, is one of the most iconic dinosaurs of the Late Cretaceous period, known for its incredibly thick skull roof that could reach up to 25 centimeters, nearly 10 inches, of solid bone. This dinosaur lived around 66 million years ago during the final moments before the Cretaceous Paleogene extinction event. Its fossils have been uncovered across western North America, including Montana, South Dakota, Wyoming, and Alberta, revealing that it inhabited lush floodplains, river valleys, and forested environments that formed part of the famous Hell Creek and Lance formations. Pachycephalosaurus was a medium-sized herbivore, standing roughly 4.5 meters long and weighing between 370 and 450 kilograms, with powerful hind legs that allowed it to move quickly and maintain balance as it browsed low-growing vegetation. Its short forelimbs, five-fingered hands, thick neck, bulky torso, and rigid tail, reinforced by ossified tendons, paint a picture of a sturdy, well-balanced animal adapted to life on two legs. The defining feature of Pachycephalosaurus is undeniably its large domed skull, which was surrounded by rows of bony knobs and short, rounded spikes. The skull's shape and thickness have long sparked debate among paleontologists. Traditionally, many believe this dome served as a battering ram for headbutting contests between males, similar to the dominance battles seen in bighorn sheep or muskoxen today. However, recent biomechanical studies suggest that such high-impact collisions might have caused significant injury, casting doubt on this idea. Some scientists now believe the dome may have been used more for flank butting, display, species recognition, or visual communication rather than direct head-to-head combat. Younger Pachycephalosaurus specimens show flatter skulls with more pronounced spikes, suggesting dramatic skull remodeling as individuals aged, a process called ontogeny, which likely led to many historical misidentifications. The discovery history of Pachycephalosaurus is as fascinating as the dinosaur itself. Its story begins in the 19th century when American paleontologist Joseph Leidy described a bone fragment he believed belonged to a reptile and named it Tylosteus ornatus. Decades later, paleontologists realized the bone likely came from the skull of the Pachycephalosaur, and Tylosteus was eventually abandoned in favor of the newer and more widely recognized name Pachycephalosaurus. In the early 20th century, fossils such as domes and skull fragments were often misclassified under different genera, including Truden, Stygimoloch, and Dracorex, due to their unusual shapes. For years, scientists believed these were entirely separate species. However, detailed studies by paleontologists like Jack Horner revealed that many of these specimens represented different growth stages of Pachycephalosaurus rather than different dinosaurs. Juveniles had ornamental spikes and flatter domes, adolescents developed more prominent ornaments, and adults grew the full, thick dome that characterizes the genus. Although Pachycephalosaurus is the best-known member of the Pachycephalosaur family, its overall anatomy remains poorly understood because nearly all known fossils are skulls or skull fragments. Information about its body is mostly inferred from related species like Stygosaurus and Prehistoric. Pachycephalosaurus belongs to the clade Pachycephalosauria, within the larger group Marginocephalia, making it a distant relative of horned dinosaurs like Triceratops. Phylogenetic studies suggest that Pachycephalosaurus was one of the most evolutionarily advanced members of its group, closely related to Prehistoric, Spherothelis, and perhaps Aliscacephale. In recent years, new discoveries from formations like the Hell Creek, Scalar, and Ferris formations have provided fresh insight into the diversity and distribution of dome-headed dinosaurs. Some paleontologists argue that Stygimoloch might still represent a valid genus based on its presence in younger rock layers, even though many of its features overlap with juvenile Pachycephalosaurus. The debate continues, but what is clear is that Pachycephalosaurus lived during the twilight of the dinosaur era, making it one of the final representatives of its lineage before the catastrophic asteroid impact that reshaped life on Earth. Today, Pachycephalosaurus remains a symbol of paleontological mystery, an animal known mainly from its skull, but one that continues to inspire new research, new hypotheses, and new discoveries as each fragment adds to the unfolding story of Earth's last dinosaurs. Aside from Pachycephalosaurus itself, dome-headed dinosaurs, once believed to be separate species, was Dracorex hogwartsia, known only from juvenile skulls. Dracorex had an almost flat skull with short horns and a dragon-like appearance. Their unusual head shapes originally convinced paleontologists that they represented distinct species living alongside Pachycephalosaurus during the Late Cretaceous. In 2007, this view shifted dramatically. At the annual meeting of the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology, Jack Horner presented evidence showing that the skull of Dracorex displayed traits expected in a young Pachycephalosaur. He also showed that both Dracorex and Stygimoloch share bone structures indicating extreme developmental plasticity, the ability of skull bones to change drastically during growth. Since Stygimoloch and Dracorex are known only from juveniles and Pachycephalosaurus only from adults, Horner proposed that these three species were actually different growth stages of a single dinosaur. His conclusion was supported by a 2009 study with M.B. Goodwin and later reinforced by a 2010 analysis suggesting that many flat-skulled pachycephalosaurs, such as Homolocephale, may also represent juvenile forms of dome-headed adults. Further support came in 2016 with the discovery of baby Pachycephalosaurus skulls from two Hell Creek bone beds. These fossils displayed the same pattern of bony knobs seen across all three so-called species, fitting perfectly into a single growth curve that begins with a flat skull and ends with a massive dome on adult Pachycephalosaurus. Even so, some researchers note that Stygimoloch fossils tend to appear in slightly higher rock layers than Pachycephalosaurus specimens. This suggests that Stygimoloch could represent either a late-stage juvenile of Pachycephalosaurus or possibly its own species, sometimes called Pachycephalosaurus spinifer. The function of the famous dome has long been debated. The traditional idea is that these dinosaurs engage in head-butting contests similar to modern bighorn sheep. Critics argue that the curved shape would lead to glancing blows and that the S-shaped neck wasn't built to absorb high-impact collisions. Yet fossil evidence tells another story. Many domes show lesions consistent with healed injuries, and a 2013 survey found that 22% of examined domes had damage linked to trauma. These injuries, combined with the rapid bone growth tissue found inside the dome, strongly support the idea of interspecific combat, whether through direct head-butting or sideways flank butting. As for diet, Pachycephalosaurus had small, serrated teeth suited for snipping vegetation. They likely fed on leaves, fruits, seeds, and possibly small amount of meat, supported by the blade-like front teeth found in some specimens. Pachycephalosaurus stood out, not only as one of the last dinosaurs on Earth, but as one whose story continues to evolve with every new discovery.